American tourists. Kind, honest, unselfish, definitely not obnoxious, and really, really patient. Very, very well known for those traits. Today we're looking at tour guides who are sharing the dumbest things they've ever witnessed American tourists do and say, and wow, I weep for humanity. Let's hop into it. Hope everybody's doing good. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Comment down below. Get involved in the conversation. I want to hear from you guys, and hope you're doing well. My name is Mace. I'm coming to you from Canada. I'm up in British Columbia, out here on the West Coast. Let's get into it, man. I used to work for a ski resort in Colorado for summer. Texans were notorious for silly questions. A lady asked me in total seriousness, "How did you get cement up on that mountain? How did you get cement up in that brain, lady?" I looked where they were pointing, and she was referring to the residual snow on the mountaintop. They actually thought we covered a mountain peak in concrete. It was a facepalm moment. That is definitely qualified as a facepalm moment. I don't know why somebody would think, who looks at a mountain, like a snowy, beautiful photo of nature, a mountain with flowing white snow on it, just picturesque. Why would you think there's concrete up there? I don't understand. I don't even understand the stupidity. All right, that's where we're at. Let's continue. In Washington, D.C., while on a tour of the Washington Monument, one lady asked why it's called the Washington Monument when it doesn't look anything like him. Oh, God. Classic. Classic. Just astoundingly amazing. My uncle used to be a tour guide in Iceland. He once guided a group of Americans around the country and stopped at a glacier in the middle of nowhere. He explained to the group that the glacier has been here for thousands of years and wouldn't melt. The group then went back to the bus, but my uncle noticed one of the women was carrying a big piece of the glacier with her. He stopped her and said, "I'm sorry, but you can't bring that onto the bus. It will melt." The woman quickly responded, "But you said it doesn't melt." My husband stood there for a while, dumbfounded by the sheer amount of stupidity, then said, "Okay, but you'll have to put it in your backpack and keep it in there for the whole journey." The woman readily agreed and made space in her bag. Needless to say, the ice melted in her bag. Hopefully her passports were destroyed. Actually, no, hopefully they weren't. Get her back to the States quickly and don't let her leave again. Just staggering incomprehension of how nature works. Number 4. I used to live and work in a national park. One lady was very upset that the animals weren't groomed. That the animals in a national park weren't groomed. She got quite irate over this. She thought we should take more pride in their appearance. I was dumbfounded. Yes, wild animals famously need much taken care of and grooming. Of course, it's a national park. Of course, it shares many similarities to a zoo for Americans. On a side thought, though, I don't know if any of you have seen those videos of people just having a complete disregard for any sort of rule or any sort of respect for nature in national parks. Like, they'll go up and disturb wild animals. They'll get way too close, or they'll jump barriers to get photos, take selfies. They'll leave garbage, they'll litter, which is one of the things that I don't even want to describe what I want to happen to those people. People that you go to a beautiful spot in nature and there's like beer cans and chip bags and just trash. Or the people that dump trash like out in the wilderness. I don't know, man. They should get... listen, maybe I don't believe in capital punishment, but at that stage, like, these people are just devoid of any humanity or respect and just have the ultimate entitlement. Similar to this type of person. I mean, this type of person is just stupid, I guess. She got irate over the fact that, wild animals didn't look like she thinks they're supposed to look. So she just has a total lack of... She's got a lot of things lacking, more so to a point where you just feel sorry for her. But there's other people I see on these videos disturbing wildlife and just being total noodle brains. Those people, they grind my gears, as Peter Griffin would say. I worked as a tour guide in Alaska and had an American tourist ask about the exchange rate. Alaska, famously not an American state. It's a separate country. I work at a drive-through zoo. A drive-through zoo. Okay, so you go in a horse-drawn wagon through the zoo. And while I was explaining, I was like, what? A drive-through zoo? While I was explaining the difference between an ostrich and an emu egg, a woman in her 40s asked me how big our zebra's egg was. I had to explain how mammals give birth to a grown woman with 3 kids. Wow. A creature with, a mammal with 3 kids ask if a zebra... this one's crazy. What in the fried brain Jurassic Park strangeness is going on here? Number 7. I was in the Louvre and ended up talking to some American guy for about 15 minutes. At the end of the conversation, he complimented me on my English and accent. I was like, dude, I'm from Oregon. I don't even know what to say to that one. All right, next. I had a college professor who spent some time as a hunting guide in Alaska. He told us a story about a client from the lower 48 who contracted the guide company to take him out into the wilderness via helicopter and drop him off for a solo hunt. On the way, they warned the client of recent bear activity in the area. And the client assured them that he had bear spray and was prepared. Satisfied with his response, they dropped the guy off and left. During their ascent, they noticed him frantically rolling around on the ice. So they dropped back down to see what was wrong. The guy had applied the bear spray to himself as a repellent to keep the bears away. I'm not sure what their next step was, but I assume that was the end of his solo hunt. Ow, that's gotta hurt. Also, it's not going to do much damage considering his brain doesn't need oxygen, apparently. I'm a tour guide in a pretty large cave, and last week I had a guy point at a pile of cinder blocks on the side of one of the paths and ask, so, are those naturally occurring down here? Yes, famously naturally occurring cement blocks. Those definitely look like something built by nature. But to be fair, there is things in nature sometimes where you observe them and you are struck by how incredibly organized nature is. And while it's naturally occurring, things are happening, without effort. When you walk around in the forest, trees are growing, there's things decomposing, there's new things flowering, there's rivers washing through. You look really, really close at like a leaf and you'll be amazed. Some people might need to get high to do that. But if you just look at it stone cold sober, you can have an experience. Like, it's cool, man. Nature is amazing. That's why I like really disconnecting and being conscious about that disconnection when we're trying to decompress from all of the bullshit that we have to face in this hyper rat race capitalist economical system, which puts us in these metaphorical cubicles regardless of what your employment is. When I was in France during World War I and World War II memorials, when I was in France touring World War I and World War II memorials, the actual tour guide didn't speak English, so I was commissioned to be a translator for all the British and American tourists. I was assistant to the regional tour guide, so I hope my story counts. We were at Verdun, and it was a pretty free-for-all tour where the kids could somewhat play alongside the crater's edges. A middle-aged American woman said, "Wow, are all the craters and hills here must have been really convenient for the fighting. They're lucky they picked such a location." Lady, are you for real? Yeah. All I can say is taking kids that are going to be disrespectful to a World War II, World War I memorial tour is maybe not the best idea, but typical American behaviors. I mean, take your kids, mind you. I hope they've been raised properly before you take them. Yeah. Very big respect, reverence for our soldiers and men and women who fought to protect our rights that, we still have, but they're being eroded by forces that are very difficult to control. Social media, artificial intelligence, centralization of power. These things are not helping to conserve and preserve our rights. We can just do our best to keep liberty alive. Number 11. An American tourist on a midnight sun trip in Norway asked where the midnight sun was. She actually thought that it was a different sun that came out after midnight. It's going to be wild living in some of those places, though, that have such long days or short days, depending on the time of year and where you are in regards to the equator. Like, I hate the months where we have short days. It sucks. So it's interesting to think what you would prefer. Like, you think of those places that have extended periods of night or extended periods of daytime, or they have like 2 hours of night per day. What would be better, I wonder? As long as you had a really, really solid blackout room to sleep, you just got to make sure your circadian rhythm and internal clocks are ticking correctly and keep those in sync somehow. I don't know how they do it, but... Number 12. I worked at a visitor center in Gettysburg for a while. You will remember the Titans. Here's some of my favorite questions we ever got. That was really random. Do they take the monuments in at night or just leave them on the battlefield? Why aren't there any bullet holes in the monuments? Self-explanatory. 13. I once overheard a tourist ask a sunset cruise captain in Key West, how many sunset cruises do you do a day? The captain just looked at him until the tourist went, oh yeah, and walked away sheepishly. How many sunset cruises do you do a day? Oh, that's wonderful. That's amazing. I like that the person clocked their own faux pas and just exited from the situation. Fine. 14. I was a tour guide for the Confederate White House in Richmond, Virginia, where Jefferson Davis stayed while president of the Confederacy. I had a family come in thinking they had arrived at the actual, real White House. It took me a second to realize they were serious. Well, there's nothing to do to help those people. And whatever. When I worked at the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, a lady asked me, when do they turn on the waterfalls? We turn the water on at noon. Classic. When do they turn on the waterfalls? Okay, this one reminds me that I want to go check out some waterfalls right now. I think I'm going to make some coffee and take my, 10-minute walk to a waterfall. And I hope y'all can do something similar today to relax your mind. Read a book, sharpen that proverbial sword, get your mind on the whetstone, sharpen those skills, increase that vocabulary, all of the good stuff. All right, we'll see you all soon. Peace out.